So look at this. We already got questions. We haven't even started yet. We got people already there. Waiting for the live stream. All right, well, let's do this. Let's do our live stream. Again, we're going to do shorter questions, shorter answers, more questions. Let me slide this around so I can actually see what you're asking. All right. See if I can keep up with you. Probably there's no chance I can keep up with you. Oh my God, Anton, he's asking me, in Kala software, is it possible to change the vernal point from sidereal Pisces to sidereal Aquarius? Why don't you have to ask them. I don't make that software. Prashant Harjal, hello, Shadbala for Rahu Ketu. Is it derived based on the weighted system of planets? Yes, exactly, Prashant. Sorry if nobody else understands that question or answer. Hopefully I'm live. It says I'm live. Can somebody confirm to me that you can see me, because my video is not really moving around. Can you guys see me? Okay. All right. Farah, you want to know the correct degrees for the nakshatras. All you need to know for correct degrees of nakshatra is Ayanamsha. The Ayanamsha is the amount to subtract. God, kill me if I'm wrong, but I think it's subtract from the vernal equinox to get to a sidereal reference point. So if you remember the common way that everybody thinks of nakshatras, which is Ashwini is at 0 degrees Aries starting, and each nakshatra is 13 in the 3rd degrees. Then to get a tropical coordinate for that, you just need to subtract, plus, add your Ayanamsha. The current Ayanamsha is 24 degrees. Right, so, but if that's too much math and all that junk, just go to Wikipedia, just search nakshatra list, Wikipedia, Google that, and Wikipedia has a nakshatra list, and they give you coordinates in both tropical and sidereal, and also, of course, I give PDFs to students and things like that if you do my nakshatra course. All right. Hello, everybody. Salutations. Natasha wants to know if Prashna works. Prashna is horary astrology, where, for example, if she asked me, do Prashna work right now, and then what I would do is let's do this. Get a chart for right now. Right here, right now. And the answer is, because right here, right now, Mars is rising in the 1st house. And the moon is in Virgo. And there's a lot of stuff in Capricorn, the sun, right? So the answer is, first of all, Mars rising in Pisces means the answer is yes, it works. But be practical about it. And there's a conflict between the practicality of Mars and the idealism of Pisces. But it's nice for this question, because this is a mystical thing like Pisces, and it actually works. The question is, does it work? The answer is yes. It's exactly opposite from the moon, which is the 5th lord. Mars is exactly opposite from the moon, which is the 5th lord, at the moment that the question was asked. So I would say something like, yes, it works, but you really have to be smart about it, because the moon is the 5th lord. Moon is in Virgo. You have to be smart and patient about it. Don't just try to do it like a crystal ball. And now the sun is in Capricorn now when you ask this question, and Saturn is in Capricorn. Ketu is in Capricorn, a lot of Capricorn stuff. That's how you do a Prashna. Prashna just means question. That's how you answer it. We just pull a chart up at the moment that the person asks the question. Now, actually, is that really how you do a Prashna? Yeah, basically, but there's a whole book, Prashna Marga, which gives you way more details and specific techniques for how to answer specific kind of questions. Kamalesh wants to know what led me to astrology. A punk band. A punk band got me interested in Indian things. A punk band, not exactly punk like the Sex Pistols, but like punk like Motorhead. You know, ever heard of Motorhead? Like metal, kind of heavy metal punk. A band called the Cro-Mags. They were into Hare Krishna. So since I was into that music, I got interested in Hare Krishna. And then from that took me to India. And then my teacher's bookshelf had an astrology book on it, a couple of astrology books on it. One of which was Notable Horoscopes by B.V. Raman. And so I thought it was weird that a guru figure would have an astrology book, because I thought astrology was for Cosmopolitan magazine. You know, just like, I just thought it was I didn't expect like a Indian guru to be into horoscopes. But when I opened up the book, I saw, whoa, this is a whole science. And it's very, very Indian, isn't it? So that's what got me interested in it. There's a quick answer to that one. Prashant, I'm not going to let you ask too many questions, because I'm going to try to get to more questions. No, that's not fair, right? Then that'll make you sad. I'll answer your questions real fast. Retrograde Saturn, thoughts of interpretation? Basically, you just think that a retrograde planet just basically thinks that it's going to go against the norm. That's the best way to deal with it. Let me just see. Again, my video is not moving. If somebody can confirm that I'm still online. It still says I'm online. Maybe I need to make this video bigger or something. Let's see, what are you saying? Who has Rahu in Gemini and Ketu in Sagittarius has reasons to worry about in 2019? Sorry, I couldn't understand the question. Valeria, hello. So let's see. Another question here is, we got, somebody says she was watching, Farah, I've been watching some of your old videos and you mentioned degrees, different to Wiki. Oh, okay. Well, maybe some of my old videos might have little boo-boos in them. You know, I did this on, I'll tell you what, I'll put this on my website at a certain point, so that it's, you know, or just in the next book that I'm going to put out, the Nakshatra Sutra translation, I'll make sure I include that, the list of nakshatra degrees. Shiva, thank you for liking the Barney lesson. Ayan, what's special about Jeshtapada 4? What if I answered nothing? What if I say that the padas are not so significant? And then you're saying I'm crazy. Yeah, the whole thing is based on padas, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, what if you take red and you mix it with blue? You get purple. So fine. If a certain Navamsha within a certain nakshatra changes the color of the nakshatra. So just think about that. Don't think about it sidereally, if possible. If I can convince you to break with the tradition, think about it tropically. What Navamsha is the moon in? What main Rashi is the moon in? And then what nakshatra is it all in? And those are your three colors that you got to mix together on a plate to figure out a more rich detail of what color your moon is. Somebody tell me that I'm working, that I'm still live, because it's not showing me that I'm live. Thank you. I'm just sitting here staring at a still image. Everybody, okay. Gotta scroll back up. You guys got a zillion questions. See how fast I can go. In the video about combustion, you explained that there are differences whether the planet is going in or out. If he was leaving, it was stronger. Could you explain better? No, because these are short answers, more questions. So since I already had a whole video trying to explain it. But maybe sometimes a short explanation is better. If the planet's going into the sun, then it's donating its energy to the sun. And if the planet is leaving the sun, then it's been charged by its contact with the heart of the sun and it's coming out charged. That's the short answer. Andrew says, what nakshatra do you find most common in those who practice magic? Well, I don't actually get a lot of practitioners of magic. You know, so I don't really have a large sample to judge from. And I haven't really thought about it before. So I would only really be able to, I wouldn't be able to actually answer your question practically, how many charts I've seen, blah, blah, blah. But what I would imagine is, there's certain nakshatras that are disposed to use magical techniques to achieve their goals. Ashlesha. Ashlesha is really oriented in that way. Magic should be in quotes. It could be any kind of magic. It could be yoga, for example. Or it could be, that's a magic. A mystical way of achieving a goal. Yoga cities are magic. Ashlesha and Jeshta come to mind right away. Pharaoh wants to know if 10 degrees Aquarius in tropical is Shravana. Okay, let me show you. Let me see if I can show you something. Let's pull up a chart with a nakshatra wheel. And just so that no information is disclosed, give me a second here. All right. And now let me see if I can share this with you guys. We want to do this. And with this guy, I want to do this. So you see this now? It's kind of like right on top of my face. Maybe if I make the window smaller. This is live, so you get to see me tinkering with the technology. All right. Here is your wheel of the sky and stars the way they are right now in 2019, more or less, in the 21st century. So you're asking about what degree? You're asking about 10 degrees Aquarius. So if you find Aquarius over here in 10 degrees, you see this is the first 3 degrees, the next, so this little bit here, Capricorn, is the 10th degree, and it's right in the middle of Shravana. So there's your answer. And if you take a little screenshot, you can see where all the nakshatras are in relation to the tropical signs. Okay? So I'll leave that up there for a second. 1, you're done. All right, small thumbnail. Now we're back to this. Let's see what the next question is. Do I really need these glasses? Do they help or not? It's like I have to try to get closer with these glasses. Yeah, they do help. I could probably make my screen bigger. Yes. I'll skip that one. How much does it... This is Saurabh's question. Raghunath. How much it changes the interpretation when one planet sits in the ascendant? I'm not sure I know. I think you're asking how important is a planet sitting in the ascendant. It's very important. Simple answer. But it's not the only thing that makes it important. Planets in the 10th house are important. Planets that align with other planets are important. Planets that align with cusps are important. So watch a video that I have on my channel called Shadbala. There's one on Shadbala. That's what makes a planet important. And there's one on impact. Planetary impact is like the next video after that. That will explain this topic fully. He wants to know if I do sadhana. You can't achieve anything unless you do sadhana. Everybody does sadhana. Sadhana means the practice to achieve a sadhya, goal. Everybody has goals. Everybody practices to the goals. Asa 17, ascendant of either Bhadrapada and Revati are less attracted to material things. Is it because they're here for moksha? What's the main planets can lead to moksha? And it has to be in a specific nakshatra. Yeah, it's because they're into moksha, but don't take moksha as a silly definition. Take a deep definition of moksha. Think about the fact that things like sleep are moksha. Playing a video game is moksha. Anything which releases you from a thing is moksha. Anything which attaches you to a thing is bhog or bhukti. Anything which releases you from a thing is mukti, moksha. So taking heroin is moksha. An orgasm is moksha. Anything which releases you from Rajaguna and Tamaguna specifically, which means from worrying about the future and crying about the past. Anything which releases you from the things which you're commonly attached to, when your thoughts are commonly nailed to, that's moksha. So just that a chart has tons of moksha indicators in it doesn't mean that the person becomes a great yogi. They might become a drug addict because they have so much moksha. In order to really get moksha, you need to have a lot of not just moksha indicators, but also dharma indicators. Moksha in the classical sense where it means enlightenment. Then you need dharma indicators and moksha indicators. Okay, and the planets that have to do with moksha are Saturn and Ketu. And the planets that have to do with dharma are Jupiter and the Sun. Houses that have to do with moksha are 4, 8, and 12. Houses that have to do with dharma are 1, 5, and 9. Basic. There's a basic quick answer for that. Nivedita. Sarkar wants to know how Saturn acts in Shravana Nakshatra in the 7th house. Too specific. I can't do that answer to that question. So, you know what? Actually, I want to tell you guys, you actually are asking a question that's a little bit different than the one you think you're asking. Because I think you're asking a question that's like, what is my Saturn like? Tell me about me. But you're wording it as if Saturn's acting in Shravana Nakshatra. So when I answer Saturn acting in Shravana Nakshatra in the 7th house, I'm actually answering that question. So Saturn and Shravana Nakshatra in the 7th house, it doesn't indicate enjoyable sexual relationships. It doesn't indicate good communication with partners. That's what Saturn in Shravana in the 7th house indicates. But that is one part of your picture. It's not blended with anything else in the chart. I don't know if, I don't know anything else except what you asked in the question, and that's what I'm answering. Anton, does anybody know which Ainamsa BPHS used? Brihad Parashara Hora Shastra. Lol. It's a lol because Brihad Parashara Hora Shastra doesn't calculate any charts, so how would it use an Ainamsa? Natasha, are you going to do a solar eclipse review? Probably not. But probably I should, right? I probably should, but I probably won't. But maybe I will now that you brought it to my attention. See, people make huge deals out of certain things that happen often. Mercury retrogrades and eclipses. Because it's in a to a large degree, it's a chance to drum up some advertising or something, because everybody's like, "Ooh, something's happening, and let's go see what the astrologers have to say about it." But these events are not universally significant. Remember, I did a course on transits. We did a session here on transits a couple of weeks ago. Go and look at that to see about an eclipse. And if it really affects you, it's going to be affecting that point in your chart. I mean, that's my little grumpy grandpa view of it. That's why I don't jump on Mercury retrogrades and eclipses and stuff and do videos about it. I probably should, just because everybody's interested in it and gives you a good chance to reach a larger audience. Let's see. Gita wants to know if the Mahadasha of a debilitated planet will give bad results. Yeah, that's the simple answer is yes. Well, I don't know if you... The simple answer is yes. But do you know how to figure if a planet is debilitated or not? Do you know that that's not the only thing that determines what's going to happen and how it's going to happen in a Mahadash? Those are things to bear in mind. This is one part of the factor, is that if a planet's debilitated, obviously, the reason why it's called debilitated is because it doesn't function as well. Okay. Natasha says she thinks I used to be an engineer. Nope. I did used to do software programming, though. But I wouldn't say I was an engineer. Cardio AK. How do we know if Rahu Antardash and Mercury Mahadash will give good or bad results for a Virgo ascendant native, specifically if that native is born in Ardra Nakshatra? Sorry, very generic question. It's quite the opposite of a generic question. It's a very, very exacting question. So I'm not going to answer too much exacting questions. I want questions that most people would be interested in. But how do you know if an Antardash and a Mahadash is going to give good or bad results? Think about the whole thing. Learn how to do a interpretation of a chart, and then you're 50% of the way, at least, to interpreting the Mahadasha of any planet, because you know what the planet represents in the chart. Flavia, do you believe in twin flames? Flavia, to be honest with you, I don't even know what a twin flame is supposed to be. Shall we look it up right now? Let's look up. See, I'm not very New Age. What is the definition of twin flame? And I think it means like soulmate. There tends to be a lot of confusion, this is Wikipedia's first answer, about what a twin flame relationship really is. Unlike soulmates, who are perfect matches, twin flames are perfect mirrors. Relationships with twin flames tend to be an on-off, intensely passionate. So why not? There must be such a thing as a twin flame. It's just a word that describes a type of relationship. Fernanda Mello, I'm reading Bipin Bihari. Is he good? Bipin Bihari is pretty cool. My favorite thing about Bipin Bihari is pretty cool. He's got a great imagination. Bipin Bihari's got a great imagination. Just bear that in mind. So therefore, some of the things that he says are really good. The favorite thing that I ever read from Bipin Bihari was he has a great imagination, but he doesn't really seem to have a lot of Saturn or something, because he doesn't really finish a lot of the things that he starts. So he kind of half gave a very brilliant explanation of the Western glyphs for planets. That was my favorite thing I ever read from Bipin Bihari, where he explained, like, why is Venus a circle with a plus sign on the bottom, and why is Mercury the same symbol with a little curve on the top. And I thought that was my favorite thing. His imagination really was put to great use there. But I wouldn't say that he's like the scientist of astrology or something, or a great authority or something, but he's a really genius, imaginative person. So, Raghunath, how to understand what is a real feeling, a real relationship, or an illusion? Does Rahu signify a certain position? Well, so if you want to figure out if your relationship is real or is just an illusion, first ask yourself, what's the difference between real and an illusion? There is no such thing as illusion. By definition, illusion doesn't exist. Everything is an illusion, and therefore nothing is an illusion. An illusion is something that you perceive. The illusion, however, can be defined as the thing which is inaccurately perceived. So, if you want to know if your relationship is real or just an illusion, it's probably half of the thing is, what do you mean if it's an illusion? Relationship is about how you relate with somebody. Are you relating with a fantasy character? Then it's an illusion. Are you relating with a real person? Then it's not an illusion. Do you maybe just think that you're in love, but you're not actually in love? What do you mean? Everybody knows whether or not they're in love or not. Just listen to your heart. Does your heart flow? Do you know whether or not that person is in love with you? That's where the question comes. Because people are freaking evil. And they use even the most sacred things such as love to exploit other people. So it's valuable to say, does this person actually love me, or am I being tricked? Am I in the illusion that they actually love me? And how you would know the difference is just, you have to make a test, right? You see if that person is willing to sacrifice anything for you. How much are they willing to sacrifice for you? The more they're willing to sacrifice, the more easily they're willing to sacrifice, the more it's real and not illusory. If you want to know astrological ways to help you with the question, I think, why? Would you want me to give you... Okay, but maybe there is a good reason why, but let me just say this first. You don't need an astrological reading to put screw in a screw, right? You need a screwdriver. So similarly, the best way to deal with the problems in your life are, first of all, to deal with them using immediate tools. If you want to know if a relationship with somebody is real or not, then test it. If you just want to also look at it through astrology to help you interpret the test results, then you just look for good compatibility. Also, just look at the person's individual chart. Don't even go and look at how your charts go together. Look at the person's, their birth chart. Are they honest? Is Jupiter good? Are they honest? How's their Venus? Where is their Venus? Is it in Scorpio? Sorry to everybody who has Venus in Scorpio. But if it's in Scorpio, be careful. Maybe they're really passionate or deceptive. Is their Venus in like Jeshta or Ardra or something? Then maybe they're not really ready for a relationship. Look at is their seventh lord in the ninth house or something? Is it in the eighth? Is it in the 12th? Is it in the 6th? If it's in a dangerous house, be careful. Okay, which nakshatra or planetary combination suggests medical profession? A lot of it has to do with the 6th house. The 6th house needs to connect with the career. So it needs to connect to the 10th house, 10th lord, or the sun. 8th house, also for medicines, more specifically than just being a doctor, dealing with medicines. And Mula is good for medicines. People say Ashwini, to some extent it's true. Let's see what else you got here. Planets on angles are prominent? Yes. I hear that Rahu will be in Gemini. Amazing. Is it? Let's see. Rahu will be in Gemini. Rahu will be in Gemini soon. It's now at 26 degrees and 55 minutes of Cancer. So it's only 3 degrees away from Gemini, so you give it a little while, it'll be there. How does retrograde and debilitated planet work? It's going to go against the norm. The classic texts will give you some really confusing statements about this. Classic Sanskrit texts will say a debilitated retrograde planet is like a benefic. A A debilitated malefic planet is like a benefic. A debilitated malefic planet is like a benefic. Maybe a debilitated retrograde planet. Am I messing up all my things? My words? You get my idea though, right? They say like the retrograde, it's so confusing what they say. What they're trying to get across, in my opinion, is that the retrograde means that it's moving in an opposite direction. It'll behave against what you expect of the norm. Or it'll just behave against the norm. It's a better way to put it. So, retrograde malefic. You're asking me this question, so I wouldn't care too much. Or retrograde debilitated. I wouldn't care too much. I care if it's debilitated, and I care if it's retrograde, but I don't really think like it's retrograde and debilitated. Just put it together naturally. It's not like it's a special thing that it's retrograde and debilitated. It's a debilitated planet, it's debilitated. Is it really debilitated? You need to check my video about how you calculate planetary dignities to see if it's how debilitated is it. And retrogression means, well, it's kind of countercultural or counter against what it usually does. But I don't really care that much about retrograde planets. Even in the reports that I give, I don't even mark if a planet is retrograde or not. People will think I'm crazy for that, but it's so important if a planet's retrograde. But I don't think it's that important. Maybe it is, but it's not that important to how I do my readings. So Vicky wants to say, Rahu is going to be in Gemini soon. What does that mean for people that have Rahu in Gemini ascendant? Well, it means you're going to have a Rahu return in your ascendant. So it means you're going to have a big new revelation in your life, a big change in your life. And it's going to cause an upheaval. Things will change. And it will be a lot about your actual practical life, how you live your life, and how you think about yourself. I'm going to kind of, you know what? In the case where, this is what we have to do with this, because then your questions just pile up and there's no way I'm going to get to the end. So in the case where the gods in charge of the YouTube chat stream make my chat window suddenly scroll, then I'm going to just take that as fate. And I'm just going to look at those questions. Right? So then if you found that your question got skipped, it's probably because my thing just flipped, my scroll bar just flipped, and then ask it again. So this is the first question that I can easily understand. Abhishek wants to know if Rohini gives a lot of wealth. So I don't know how many times I'll have to say this. Maybe it's my problem that I never feel like I can give a quick answer, but you're asking me a question about one specific thing, and I'm going to give you an answer about that one specific thing that you asked. But don't take my answer in a different context than the question that you asked. You asked if Rohini gives wealth. The answer is that Rohini gives inspiration. Rohini gives inspiration and passion. When you have inspiration and passion, you do things. You accomplish things. So Rohini creates an abundance because it brings up the blood temperature. It brings up the heart rate. It makes you excited. It makes you want something. So Rohini does give abundance. That's the answer to your question. So does it mean that a person with the Rohini moon is going to be wealthy? It means that's certainly not harming them from being wealthy. But you need to look at other things too. Please answer. Rahu, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Leo in the 11th. Is that malefic? I don't know. Why do I don't really feel inspired to answer such super specific questions. Rahu, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Leo in the 11th. Is that malefic? My brain hurts trying to answer that question. I would rather just look at your chart and get to the real question that you want to know. Like, am I going to make money? Something about the 11th house. Am I going to be happy? It's getting too specific, and I don't feel that the answer will really be that helpful to you. And even the wording is like, what do you mean is it malefic? Planets are malefic. Situations are, no, I don't know if they could be described as malefic. Natasha, if you have 2 stelliums in Libra and Scorpio, what is the lesson? God, I wish you guys would ask me some easy questions. If you have 2 stelliums in Libra and Scorpio, what is the lesson? Too much energy, what one must do for the opposite side. Again, like, I'd rather just look at this chart and do a reading for you rather than go beat around the bush with the question about one specific thing about in the chart. The stelliums, you have to analyze what the house lords are and all kinds of stuff you have to analyze. So I'm not going to try to give an answer. Rahu in Ardra 8th house. At least it's a little less specific. Rahu in Ardra is a great deal of storminess, a great deal of counter hierarchical rebelliousness. And then in the 8th house means acting in a subterfuge way, acting in a what would you call that? Subversive way. So like acting behind the scenes. So like what is it? Rahu in Ardra in the 8th house signifies tearing down authorities through unseen manipulations, pulling, whole thing like that. Now that's a symbolic answer. So think about what it symbolizes. What is Saturn going to do in the 8th house? Saturn in the 8th house will promote your longevity. Just think about the planet and the house. What do they have in common? Those things are going to go good. What do they have that's not in common? What do they clash with? Those things are going to be bad. So Saturn signifies longevity, and the 8th house signifies longevity. So Saturn in the 8th house promotes longevity. It signifies longevity. Saturn signifies old folks. 8th house signifies life force, reproduction. So Saturn in the 8th house is going to clash with the reproductive energy and make a lower libido or a problematic fertility or problematic childbirthing, which problematic children. So like that, you can go through the various symbols that the planet represents and see if you can find something that's pretty much exactly the same in the house or pretty much exactly opposite in the house. And then if it's pretty much exactly opposite, then you make your prediction or interpretation is that it's a negative event, negative outcome. And if they're the same, then the interpretation goes positive. TRT. In your chart assessment, what if no planets are prominent? What does it mean if only one planet or node is prominent? Well, there'll always be one prominent that's more. There will always be one planet that's more prominent than the other planets. And if only one planet is prominent, there's no problem with that. It's nice. I mean, then the chart reading is simple. It doesn't in and of itself mean anything. The prominence of the planet mostly tells you what planet you need to focus your interpretation on. So, for example, if you have a very prominent moon and everything else is much lower in prominence than the moon, then the first thing that I think is, while the emotional nature of the person is very strong in their makeup, they're a very moon person. So the mind, the emotions is a very crucial thing for this person. Now let's look at this chart and figure out what their mind and emotions are like. Let's look at the moon. And let's spend enough time looking at all the various things about the moon, the conjunctions, the aspects, etc., 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 the amshas. how and where do you see your second wife husband in a chart? It's not really cut and dry where you would see your second wife or husband. But one thing that I just recently did was, so it might be fresh on my mind, is the direction that a planet, is the seventh lord, is moving will show you what's the first and what's second. It's very, very complicated. I'm not going to be able to answer it in a short. At least the type of person that I am, where I want something to actually be workable and usable, the answer that I give, I wouldn't be able to answer you quickly with this. It's a difficult question. How important is it to identify the ascendant nakshatra? It's absolutely important. It's as important as knowing your rising sign. Moon in Capricorn in the fifth. Moon in Capricorn in the fifth. Sun in 12th Leo. Is the moon weak or the sun weak? No idea. It doesn't depend on those kind of things. Okay, watch my videos on how you calculate the strength and prominence of a planet, and that will answer the question there. What's the importance of the descendant? Well, the descendant is simply the seventh house cusp. So the descendant will be the most crucial degree in the seventh house. Just like your ascendant is the first house cusp, and it's the most crucial degree in the first house. So the things that affect that specific degree affect the seventh house the most. What's the importance of the IC, Im Coli? That's the fourth house cusp. Fourth house cusp is the most sensitive part in your fourth house. What does the fourth house signify? It signifies your inner self, your emotional, mental basis. So the Im Coli is the most important point for that. Is it true that Sagittarius got a boon from one of the gods? What does true mean? And what kind of boon? Ask me more. Sagittarius doesn't get any. I don't know. Tell me more about that. I want to know more about that. What are your thoughts on the unequal nakshatra theory? This is the next question. It was about a year ago that somebody told me that they were investigating the unequal nakshatra system, and I investigated it myself because they gave me some source material. And what I found was that there's an ancient valid system for taking the nakshatras to be of 4 different types of lengths, I believe. But that the guys who framed the system, the actual, the ancient authors who tell about the system, say that this is not meant to replace the 27 equal nakshatra system, but it's meant to be used as some kind of an alternative. So my thoughts on that is, I like the 27 equal nakshatra system. I'm not itching for an alternative. So the sages who gave the 28th system said there's no need to really switch to this, but under some circumstances which they don't specify, or at least in the sections that I read, they didn't specify what the circumstances are, but they said circumstantially you might want to use this 28 nakshatra system of unequal lengths. So my thoughts on it are like, that's nice, but I get my readings done with 27 equal nakshatras, and it works good, and I don't need to look at the 28. All right, let's see what else we got. My Saturn is in Sagittarius conjunct Mercury in the 3rd house. How do I deal with my Saturn return? It's too much. This is a question. I can't do short answers with a question like this. This is like half of a reading. But I would just say deal with your Saturn. Just be calm. Deal with it calmly. When my son was born, I started to lose everything material and be very spiritual. I can't answer that question either. What does Venus and Revati in Pisces in the 5th house mean? Looks great. I mean, I would rather look at your chart. Again, you guys are asking me questions that are like not really the question that you really want to know. You want to know, like, how's my love life or something. But you're asking me a specific thing about a specific thing. I'm going to answer you about the chart, about the question that you asked. Which is, that's very nice for love. Venus and Pisces in Revati. Well, of course, and now it's evident that you're using a sidereal zodiac to say that Revati is in Pisces. But anyway, Venus in Revati is lovey. But you see, it's not in Pisces anymore. It's in Aries. Now, so this is a good question, actually, from Floating Wisdom. It just happened to pop onto my screen. So anyway, because Revati is not in Pisces, it's in Aries, then there's actually, in this span of centuries where that's the case, it's very difficult. Love life and family life are quite difficult. Floating Wisdom wants to know, with the devil face, if I'm still friends with Arjun, Pi, Eve, and KRS. Well, can we define friends? Like, I'm friends with the guys that I went to high school and the girls that I went to high school with. I'm friends with people that I hang out with all the time. So what do we mean by friends? Like, bosom buddies? No, never was. Never met. I met them once in Sedona. But friends means, like, not enemies? Sure, of course. If friends means, like, work together? No. Actually, they don't want to work with me. They don't even want to, like, be in a video with me. Why? I don't know. They probably have a good reason for it. It's not something that I'm really itching to change. So hopefully that answers your question without causing a freaking insult war or something. Hopefully that didn't seem insulting to anybody. Still light, are nakshatras based on the sidereal system? Nakshatras, there's not really a sidereal system of coordinates. Yes, nakshatras are stars. Nakshatra, the Brihad Parashara Shastra in an opening chapter, like chapter 3 says, in the sky there are many dots of light. Those are called nakshatras. Some of those dots of light move. Those are called grahas. The ones that don't move are called nakshatras. So, because the word nakshatra means not moving. Literally, the word nakshatra means not to move. Nakshayate. And so it's a name for the stars as compared to the planets. So sidereal is a Latin word which means stars. Siderus means star. So it's like, if you translate both of the words, sidereal and nakshatra, then the question is, are stars based on the stars? So it's like, yes, obviously the answer is yes. Nakshatras are sidereal. Are signs based on the stars? No. Signs are based on the moon having 12 cycles in the course of the sun having one. So signs are based on the sun and its relationship to the moon. Is there a relationship between signs and stars? Yeah. Is it a permanent relationship? No. Galaxy 2431. In the D60, does the 12th house represent the lugna of the past life? See, this is something that I think that somebody would say. That would make them seem like a great astrologer and genius. And wow, we should listen to this person. They know amazing things. But what's the value of the information, and how do you know if it's true or not? In the D60, does the 12th house represent the lugna of the past life? I have no idea. And certainly I have not read any classical texts which even care about those things. I may have missed those points. But as far as I know, this is not an important topic, and so I have no idea. And I just think it's kind of funny that somebody would say, in the D60, the 12th house is the lugna of the past life. Wow, cool, wow. I heard that Sagittarius got a boon, was singled out for a boon by a god. With your knowledge of the Vedas stories, you might know about the story of the sign receiving a boon or a bonus. No, I don't. It's just that Sagittarius is a lucky sign. People love it because it belongs to Jupiter, and it's the 9th sign, and it's fire. So it's Jupiter's male sign. So, like, what would a religious and patriarchal society love more than Sagittarius? So modern India is really loves Sagittarius. So yay, Sagittarius, Jupiter's male sign. Like not modern India, but like 1950s, 1960s India. One thing you should know about gods is that actually they're not partial. They shouldn't be partial. So partiality is a flaw. So to give a boon to only one sign would be a flaw. So really, there's lots of stories. Sagittarius has its boons. Scorpio has its boons. Every sign has its boons. Every sign has its curses. That's why if you read a rational astrologer like Mantreshwar, who's the author of Pala-Deepika, he makes rational statements. Like every house, which you can just extend, I mean, every sign, everything in astrology, can produce good or bad results depending upon the circumstances. Harry asks, half of my planets are in air, the other half in water. What would you say about my character? Well, if it's actually true that you got half in air and half in water, then it means that you're entirely missing earth and fire. So it would mean that you're very gender middle in the, you're missing the gender extremes. So it's a little bit, and it's not just about gender. Gender is part of the symbolism of astrology. So it means like you're missing the decisiveness and missing the commitments and things. And they're just kind of like on a fence. But it's probably not true that literally half your planets are in air and the other half in water. Some of my videos probably have my system of how you calculate the elemental balance. It's not just by doing a tally of the planets and the signs. You have to consider the amshas that the planets occupy. And I think I even have a video. Look at my videos page on my channel and go into the past videos. There's videos that are specifically about how you interpret elemental balances. Excuse me. Jupiter combust in Capricorn for Virgo ascendant. Jupiter combust in Capricorn so it's bad luck. Does it cancel the good effects of the 4th and 7th house? I hate those kind of cancel ideas. Like, isn't it good enough to say that Jupiter in Capricorn signifies bad luck, and then therefore whatever houses Jupiter are connected to are going to have, that signifies difficulties to those houses. Let's see what else flopped up. Jennifer wants to know if I'm taking any new students or starting. Oh, it flipped off her question. I guess didn't want me to answer. Or starting any new coursework anytime soon. I just started a new level 2 intensive course with, I think, 12 students. And then I have these other self-study courses. If you go to victorcara.com And then you can click over to classes and you can see the courses that are ongoing. Anybody can take the self-study courses. And then if you want to do a course with me, contact me and we'll try to schedule it if you want to do one-on-one, or we'll try to find a group. Bomb, what are the signs in a chart of a beautiful singing voice, or at least what are the most common ones? The Jupiter in second house, Venus in second house, a good Jupiter, a prominent Jupiter, Jupiter in Chitra, Jupiter in Mrigashirsha, Jupiter in Rohini, Jupiter in some kind of beautiful. See, it has to do with Jupiter, because Jupiter is the planet for the Mahabhuta, the element of space, and space is the element, or ether, is the element which produces sound. And so Jupiter, therefore, is really important for voice. Additionally, second house, second lord, have to do with voice. Natasha, if I'm missing planets in Earth, does it mean I'm not practical, earthy, or in balance? Yeah. If you don't have Earth, then it's going to mean not just practical, but also stability, reliability is going to be low. But don't rush to a judgment about it yourself if you haven't carefully calculated what your actual elemental balance is. Torpedo in your mouth, 10. Why is it that on a psychological level I relate more to my Western chart, but it predicts in my sidereal chart, or sidereal system has been more accurate when compared to predictions on my Western chart? So how am I supposed to answer that question, torpedo in your mouth? I have no idea who did what, who interpreted your chart, what person did a Western prediction, what person did a sidereal prediction, how you evaluated the accuracy of the two of them. I have no idea. All I know is that signs are not stars, and that nobody, no classical author, no Puranic author or narrator says that the signs are stars. Flor Gonzalez says debilitation can be good, like debilitated Venus in Virgo, 7th house. Debilitation can be good, but debilitation and exaltation indicate the planet being pushed to rise to a higher thing than it normally would. The difference between debilitation and exaltation is that in exaltation, the planet has a really good support for rising. Its exaltation sign pushes the planet to be better than what it normally is, and gives it a lot of support makes it very likely to succeed. In the debilitation sign, the planet is also pushed to be a lot better than it usually is, but it's surrounded with a lot of challenge to actually succeeding. That's one principle. And the other thing is, not every planet is as radical in its debilitation. So, for example, the effects of a debilitated Venus aren't as radical as the effects of a debilitated Saturn, for example, or Sun, or Mars. Mercury and Venus, the debilitations are not so devastating. Can it be good? Probably, if you have a debilitated planet that's actually your life is really good in the areas that this planet seems to be affecting. It's probably because it's not terribly debilitated. Go back on my video page and look for the video about how you actually calculate dignity. It's not just that Venus in Virgo is debilitated, end of the story. What degree is Venus at in Virgo determines what 15 other signs that it's in contact with through the umptious, and those all affect its dignity. So if you have a debilitated planet that's actually doing great stuff in real life, in that area in your life, debilitated Venus in the 7th house, and you have a wonderful marriage, then I would be really surprised if that Venus is really debilitated, like really has a low overall dignity through all the Vargas and umptious. And it's still not impossible that Venus would have a really low dignity, because maybe there's some other really great stuff that's happening. that relates to marriage, that offsets. Like a mole. Nobody wants a mole, right? How would you like a mole birthmark on your face? Nobody wants a big birthmark on their face. But, one of the most beautiful things in the world is to have a mole or birthmark in just the right spot. So it can be like that sometimes, even with a planet that actually really is debilitated. If it's just in the right spot, with the rest of the chart covering for it or doing different things that put it just in the right, frame it just in the right way, then it becomes actually a nice thing. Natasha wants to know why don't I ignore questions I don't want to answer? Because I read the question to know what the question is. Maybe I shouldn't read it out loud, but I kind of worry about you guys getting bored while I'm quiet. All right. I shall end the hour. I hope you enjoyed it. My thing is probably better questions now. Yeah, there's some really interesting questions now. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Apparently, you guys love my little question and answer thing because I got 81 people now watching. So I guess we'll keep doing it. Thank you.